She wanted to tell him that he was insane, that the place she had made for herself in the world was as secure as it had ever been, but instead the thought of Roger popped, unbidden, into her mind. Or rather, the memory that Roger had been gone when she looked for him a second time. Could he have forgotten her, gone back to their hotel room because she no longer existed for him? No. No, it was madness. She was real. She had a home, a job, a boyfriend. He has forgotten you, said Babbers. Already the skin of the world is healing over the space that you have left in it. In a few days, no trace of you will be left. Now, your place is here. Charlotte stared at the old man and took another step back towards the passage. She wanted to say, that's impossible, but she dared not speak. Saying anything would be an admission of the fact that, just for a moment, she had wondered, and in her wondered, and his words had attained a sort of reality. But he couldn't be right, could he? It was an absurdity spouted by an old man driven mad by solitude and religious extremism, wasn't it? How could he believe it, she asked herself, and in that moment she realised that she did not want to leave yet. She wanted to make him see that he was wrong. Frantically she went through the things that she could say that might puncture his reality. Finally she came across what she felt was the perfect argument. But I can't, she said. I don't believe, and if I don't believe, how can I have been called? Babbers did not reply, and Charlotte thought for the short time that she had done it. But then, a sad little smile never leaving his face, he said, believe in what? This church, this place, it's all around you, more solid than your flesh can ever hope to be. God, perhaps. Well, he does not care. He exists outside of your beliefs or mine. He does not need your faith or mine to continue. But I see it is not him that you do not believe in, but the function of this place, its purpose of keeping the light burning that holds the darkness at bay. You think, maybe, that all here is ceremony without purpose, that the purpose itself has become obsolete, like the act of watering a dead plant. Babbers' smile widened into a grin that showed his teeth. Under his eyebrows, his eyes were lost in pools of flickering shadow. This is no place of idle ceremony, he said. Watch. He took hold of Charlotte's arm in a grip that was gentle but unyielding and pulled her to one corner of the pit in the floor. Nodding at her, he took hold of the torch and removed it from the bracket. Holding it high over his head, he retreated to the far side of the cavern and stood with the torch above him, the light dancing frenziedly around him. The walls, their colours melting and emerging, were flames about Charlotte's skin, and she felt herself try to retreat from them, wrapping her arms tightly around her stomach. She made to step away, but with his free hand, Babbers gestured to the pit by her feet. She looked down. The surface of the darkness was moving. Charlotte gasped, imagining some great creature thrashing and roiling below the surface of inky water. There were no reflections within the pit, or the boiling darkness. Charlotte never knew how long she watched for. It may have been 1 minute or 1 hour. She only knew that she was mesmerised by the rippling thing before her. There was no light in it, but there were colours, things that she could neither name nor even recognise, flashes and sparks and flows that moved and swirled and came and went. She felt herself become trapped in it like a fly in amber, and it was only with an effort that she pulled herself away, brought back her mind into herself. The darkness in the nearest corner of the pit had risen. It had crept up and was lapping at the edge of the pit, and tiny strands of it had slithered out onto the marble floor. It no longer looked like a liquid to Charlotte, but like some shadowed thing slowly reaching out tentacles, sending them questing across the marble floor. They reminded her of tree roots groping blindly through the earth for sustenance. Even as she watched, the first tendril found a patch of shadow cast by the holder that Babbers had removed the torch from. The tendril, or root, or feeler, she did not know how to explain what she was seeing, writhed furiously as it reached the shadow, thickening and pulsing. The shadow itself seemed to bulge and sway, and then it was solid, more solid than it ought to be. She could not see the floor through it. More tendrils found other shadows, moving with a greedy hunger, and with them came a sound. It was the noise of insects in the night time, of unidentifiable slitherings and raspings, of rustling feet and creaking ominous walls. Claws tickled across hard floors, and breathing came low and deep. There was the whisper of saliva slipping down teeth as yellow and huge as the bones of long dead monsters, and of hate given voice, and pain that hummed in the blood. Charlotte tried to scream as the noise slipped about her, but the air became locked in her throat as she looked at her feet and saw that the questing tendrils had reached her. They caressed her gently, and then the shadows between her toes thickened, became as impenetrable as velvet. When she tried to lift her foot to kick them away, she felt them cling warmly, nuzzling gently at her instep and the back of her ankle. The feeling was soft, like the touch of a lover, and it pulsed with a rhythm all of its own, and then she screamed. She stumbled back as she screamed, and it seemed to her as she stumbled that her own shadow felt different, had a weight and solidity that it had never had before. She felt it hold onto her knees and ankles, slipping across her skin like raw silk. She kicked out, knowing the irrationality of being frightened by your own shadow, but kicking nonetheless. And then her back hit something else, something warm, and she screamed even louder.